Giovani, sono Riccardo, un coglione che gioca ai videogiochi, e questo è Gamespatia, un canale in cui un coglione gioca ai videogiochi. E oggi siamo su The Stanley Parable, che dicono sia il gioco dei giochi. È così vecchio sto gioco che ho già dovuto sclerare per impostare solo l'HD, perché è in HD, e il 16 noni perché partiva in 4 terzi. Quindi abbiate pazienza. Ma io non perderei altro tempo, c'è uno schermo su uno schermo che mi inquieta e farei subito avvia il gioco. Vediamo che succede. Loading, never the end is never the end is never the end.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Proprio era l'impiegato.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in
Sì, quello che fanno un po' tutti gli impiegati,
and he
chiaro.
pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Certo.
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push,
Che è
how
una
long to push
scimmia.
them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every
Beh, sì, è un po' logorante.
Others might have considered it soul-rending. Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made
Per
exactly
premere
for
tasti.
this job. And Stanley was happy.
Ma
And then
Okay.
one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the
quando se n'è
monitor for
accorto
him to
dopo quante
follow.
ore di lavoro?
No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ma sono l'impiegato che gli dicono cosa fare, lo faccio? Sta già succedendo, la voce narratrice mi sta dicendo cosa fare. E io lo sto facendo, quindi va
All
bene.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Scusami, ma in che senso i suoi colleghi erano dei numeri? Ma è inquietantissima sta roba. Che cazzo devo fare? Devo girare per l'ufficio e vedere che non c'è nessuno? I hate Mondays. Mondays. Proprio tutti. Vabbè. Sì, effettivamente. Chi ama il lunedì?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Io non faccio quello che mi dici di fare, cioè vaffanculo.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
E se tornassi indietro? Ah, non posso. Proviamo a fare tutto il contrario di quello che dici, ok? Vediamo cosa succede. Andiamo in sta sala riunioni. Vabbè, ma quando lui... Ma è inquietantissimo, sono tutti i numeri.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
No, invece no, me ne vado.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Assolutamente no. Cosa c'è? No.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
Sono io. Anche io mi perdo a casa mia. È uno scherzo, io per tornare a casa metto il Maps da un anno dal lavoro, quindi abbiate pazienza.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Ma sta cercando di convincermi.
Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Cosa? In che senso? Cosa vuol dire? Oh!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place
Posso
your faith
staccare
in
la
another,
spina.
then pick up the phone. As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone?
È bellissimo.
No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check.
Hai un copione.
It's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible.
Non sono
I can't
Stanley.
believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make
Perché Stanley seguiva tutto quello che gli dicevano.
I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making.
Scusa!
You do not grasp the severity of the situation. Well, I won't have that.
Giuro che seguo tutto quello che dici.
I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe.
Ma non voglio vedere un video dimostrativo.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real
Non è
person.
manco
But if
sottotitolato.
used incorrectly can also be the most dangerous. For example,
Non lo
in this
guardo.
scenario, a hypothetical
Posso
real
skipparlo?
person named
Non lo voglio
Stephen has a
guardare.
choice. He could spend years
No, non
helping
si può
improve
fare
the
veramente
quality of
nulla.
life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could
No, non si può
systematically
fare
set fire to
niente.
every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house.
No, mi
Which
dissocissimo.
choice would you make?
Non so cos'era.
Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not
Non si può skippare.
real.
Non si può
Allow the
skippare,
person
lo
to
devo
finish
vedere
their
per
thought,
forza.
then
Ma
provide
mi sta
an excuse why
costringendo.
you cannot
Ma lei è un
continue talking. Turn to a partner
Farabutto.
and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm
fasullo.
supposed to be having a..."
Cosa vuoi?
Excellent. Making choices
Oh, sono
on a
tornati
regular
sottotitoli.
basis is the best part to a healthy
Vabbè,
decision-making
ma che sta
process.
succedendo?
Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally,
Ma che stai
if you begin
dicendo?
to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ma veramente mi hanno fatto un corso, ma basta.
Welcome back.
Sì.
You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of
Successe
narrative
cose.
contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see
Vai,
what the correct
certo,
thing
sì,
to
sì.
do would have been. This way, please.
Se devo per forza, non ci sono altre strade. Exit, no? No, Ok, devo per forza. Ok. Che devo fare ora? Ah, proprio, devo tornare indietro, punto.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense
Se
at all.
potevo buttarmi giù l'avrei
Get you
fatto.
home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Va bene. Io Cioè, so che sto gioco è del 2013, ma non l'ho mai visto giocare, non l'ho mai giocato ovviamente, e non so, sapevo che era una presa per il culo ai videogiochi, ma non sapevo che gioco fosse, non pensavo, è una sorta di avventura grafica new style, chiaramente. Però, ma poi quando siamo piccoli, scusami. Beh, no dai, quella è una sedia normale, dai, manco tanto. Siamo nella media. Comunque sì, chiudo il discorso. Sì, non sapevo cosa aspettarmi, ecco.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
E se non prendessi la porta sulla sinistra? Ma mi sta obbligando.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Non me li apri tutti e due, ma allora sei stronzo. Cioè, voglio dire, io vado a destra.
No!
E che succede?
Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Cos'è? Sto rompendo il gioco. Sto rompendo il gioco letteralmente. Se arrivato a destra. Ok, no, è arrivato. Ok. Non posso romperlo oltre. Va bene. Chiaro, capo, chiaro. Va bene.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe after everything we talked about that you my
ho rotto il gioco
you
ormai.
destroyed my work. Why? For
Cazzato.
what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do?
L'ho messo in crisi.
What do I...
Ormai ti tocca arrivare fino alla fine. No! No, non farlo! Sei pazzo! No, non devi! Non farlo! No! No! No, ma scusa, non volevo. Cazzatissimo. Quindi è diventato horror. Che cazzo è sta roba?
Oh, I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You. Who thought you were so clever. Now look where
Ma mi
we
sto
are.
sentendo rimproverato
My
tipo a
entire game
scuola.
was destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child.
Beh, sì, è vero, sono un bambino.
My story. If you'd just gone through the door on the
Ho
left,
capito,
there was a whole
metti il
underground
cuore in
facility,
pace.
you would have destroyed it and been victorious.
Ma non
It would have
volevo.
been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first.
Ok,
I'm
allora
sure you'll be up to the task.
è
Just follow my
tornato
lead and
ad
you'll
un
be
dialogo
fine.
prima, credo che
All
quello
right.
fosse un finale.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ok, seguiamo adesso perché sono abbastanza certo che probabilmente si ripeterà quello che abbiamo visto. Quindi sto giro andiamo a sinistra, va bene? Ok? Sei felice? Giovane? Ci sei?
Yet there was
Ah,
not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
no, non sono riuscito a leggere. Ah, vabbè, ma sono veramente robe. Vabbè, magari
Coming
troverei
to
la
a
cazzata
staircase,
se quelli
Stanley
effettivamente.
walked
Ma vabbè.
upstairs to his boss's office.
Ok, vado. Eseguo, Eseguo. Scusa. Cos'è? Perché siamo. Non ci sono altre porte. Oddio, ce n'è una lì, ma... Ok, adesso è su binari. È molto su binari adesso.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it.
Oddio, è la prima cosa che ho notato in realtà, prima della scrivania.
And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Io lo farò incazzare veramente tanto. Please speak clearly into the receiver. Come faccio?
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115.
Ma mi prende il microfono?
Into the receiver, right there on the wall.
Ma mi prende il microfono? Squalo della notte 115.
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me,
Ma non
did
so
you?
come fare.
Please speak the code
Incazzare.
into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
Non so come fare.
Okay, fine. You're not gonna do
Non
it.
è vero,
But you know
non so
what?
come
It's pretty
fare.
humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind
Ho
of
capito, ma non ti puoi
Stanley
incazzare.
shows for his choices. He knows what
Così
it
poi
means
lo
to
devo
take
dire
a
in
story
inglese.
seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward.
Addirittura. Ma basta, ma non volevo.
To a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice.
Questo è un finale.
Door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important.
Giuro, allora, non ho capito cosa dovevo fare, ma la mia idea era andare lì e dare il codice errato, capire cosa sarebbe successo, ma... Si è rotto Stanley. Ma che tristezza! Hello? Non ho capito se...
Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time.
Ma amico mio, ma scusami, ma aspetta. Ok, quindi... È ripartito. Di incazzare.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication
c'è
of
più?
any human life.
Non c'è più.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number.
2849 2849.
Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Certo.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his
1-1.
thumbs, trying to... Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well the sheer statistical unlikelihood that this would ever result in a correct combination. If he knew that the combo was 2845, it would be another story in time. 2845.
2845.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in.
Non è vero, non è vero. Dire cazzate.
And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Evviva, evvipona. Ok, no, state vedendo questo doppio time skipping. Ho inserito tante volte il numero, ma niente da fare. Quindi 2845. Andiamo avanti. È giusto? Ok, pensavo di averlo dimenticato. Ok. Ok, va bene. Non c'erano dialoghi nascosti. Quindi? Si è aperta un qualcosa? Ah, si è aperto... madonna! Si è aperto un qualcosa. Sì che si è aperto. Ok. Immagino scendo. Ma me l'ha già spiegato nel finale che scenderemo in un sotterraneo, disabiliteremo qualcosa e salveremo il mondo. O qualcosa del genere. Cioè, era il suo vero piano, quindi.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Però poi disobbedirgli quindi solo all'inizio.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape!
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall,
non è vero.
No,
non hai il coraggio. Non puoi uccidere Stanley, mi hai fatto vedere che gli vuoi bene nell'altro finale. È evidente.
Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and
non lo ucciderai mai, ti incazzerai di nuovo e basta. Ne sono abbastanza certo.
Was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward.
Ma non lo farai. Non lo farai. Ah. Lui scapperà invece da qui. Maybe not.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man.
Che vuol dire? Ma no, ma come?
Willingly accepted this violent end to his shallow life.
No! 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 Ci sono Stanley!
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Non l'hai ucciso, avevo ragione. Non l'hai ucciso. The Stanley Parable, secondo finale.
Just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Cos'è?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
The pacing of this opening section was important to get right. Oddio, come è stato progettato il gioco? Posso spoilerarmelo. Le due porte, destra-sinistra, i credits a caso, è il secondo finale, ok. Come Warzone. Parolone, hanno anche messo un finale in cui Stanley combatte con gli alieni e quando pare inizia una guerra con il narratore. Va bene, ma poi hanno capito che era troppo breve, quindi boh. Vabbè, ok.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Off. Cioè spegniamo il gioco.
Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Che sto trip mentale, ragazzi, è qualcosa di spettacolare.
You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice.
Se non t'ascolto,
don't let time choose for you. Don't let time choose.
Ah, sono morto. Stavolta sono morto. Era lei che aveva fermato il tempo. Mi aveva fatto vedere il gioco. Non posso fare niente. Ricomincia il gioco. Quindi c'è un... Ecco perché c'è un retry.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even
wow, se tu prima che gli puoi dire il codice.
That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. So he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Madonna, ma quanti cazzo di easter egg ci sono sui giochi? È un gioco del 2013, 10 anni fa, quasi 14. Impressionante, perché tu chiaramente se conosci già il gioco.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the open
e sai il codice ti puoi portare avanti. Ok. Ok, stavolta non andiamo da escape, andiamo qui. Vai, vediamo che succede. Il giochino delle luci che si vedeva. Ah no, ok.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building. Stanley's co-workers.
Che osservavano tutti. È leggermente illegale sta roba da fare in un luogo di lavoro, ma
Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Quindi vado avanti.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Non capisco se effettivamente lui
the heart of the operation,
che controlla tutto o no.
with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once
Facility
and for
power. Mind control idle. Awaiting input. Quindi?
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this.
Ah, off però spento. Dovevo lasciarlo acceso, ho sbagliato. Questo è quello che voleva il narratore, però. Ho sbagliato l'interpretazione.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
Vedo un cazzo.
Was it over? He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many
cazzo, non volevo spegnerlo in realtà, mi hai fregato, vabbè. Ero stato stupido.
How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go.
Sì, ho capito, ma... Ah, c'è una scala. È da 2 ore che guardo il buio.
Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Questo è il finale che c'è descritto nel primo finale, che lui sarebbe tornato a casa, avrebbe distrutto il macchinario cattivo e sarebbe tornato nella sua famiglia.
The immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen.
Ok.
And Stanley...
Io so che ha 6 finali, mi sono informato prima di iniziarlo a giocare, quindi ne abbiamo raggiunti 3. Immagino. Ok. Siamo a 3 finali.
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise.
Ah, quindi lui sa che io sto rigiocando. Ho sbagliato. Non volevo farlo apposta, non cominciare a incazzarti, Era 28. Ma non ho più il puntatore, signori. Cazzo, ma non ho più il puntatore. Ah, perché era già aperta. Ok. Ok, rieccoci. Stavolta vediamo premendo on, quindi lasciando tutto acceso. Cosa succederà? Così lo premo senza farti finire.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Oddio.
Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do.
Devo scappare, immagino.
Let it go. Turn the controls off and leave.
Ma te l'ho sbagliata 18 volte, ma va bene. Sì, certo.
I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the
Allora,
event
immagino.
this machine is
1,
activated without proper DNA
2.
identification,
Dov'è il 3?
nuclear detonators are
Perché 4 e 5 li ho trovati.
eliminating the
Quando
entire
cazzo parli?
How long until detonation then? Let's say
Dov'è il 3?
2 minutes.
È lì.
Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to
3.
shine. You are the star. It's your story now.
4.
Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this
È il
means.
5, dov'è il 5? Era qui vicino il 5.
You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated.
No, questo è il 3.
All right, I'm in a good mood.
Oddio, dov'era il 5?
Anyway,
Ah, il 5 è
I'll
lì.
tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine
Merda!
to set you free. Of course,
Ma?
that is merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I
Cazzo,
come up
qua
with on
non
the
sto
next
capendo che
go
fare.
around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me. what's
Ma
the
che
matter,
cazzo
Stanley?
non ho
Is it
capito?
that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw the timer that something in the room was capable of turning
sì.
I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing.
Brutto bastardo.
These little buttons. No, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button. Or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment.
Sì, deve esserci qualcosa.
But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge.
Che maledetto bastardo.
You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
Non posso fare niente.
That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke.
E cosa dovrei fare?
I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
No! Quindi cosa dovrei fare? Ho provato di tutto. Ho numerato in... Ci riprovo, veloce skip. Ok, allora, ho un po' cercato perché l'ho rifatto un'altra volta e non sono riuscito a capire che caspita fare. E sembra che in realtà quella stanza non abbia un finale. Non c'è una combinazione. E io ci ho riprovato di nuovo. Quindi sto adesso tornando nell'escape, dove lui ti dice di tornare indietro e voglio capire cosa succede. E sarà l'ultimo finale che farò. Perché è incredibile, ma... Oh, vabbè, scusa, è incredibile comunque come ogni volta che lo giochi cambi. Questo gioco è potenzialmente non infinito, ma veramente così tante scelte, così tante cose che si modificano ogni volta, che è veramente impossibile trovare tutti i finali. Tra l'altro, cercando appunto cosa potevo fare nella stanza dei tasti, ho visto che praticamente... ci sono una marea di finali, ma proprio tanti, non erano 6 come pensavo. Quindi stavolta provo a fare sta roba. Vediamo cosa succede. Ok, torniamo indietro. Vediamo cosa succede.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
E se nuovamente ah, ma chiuso, va bene. Va bene. Ok, mi fermerei qui. Molto simpatico, molto carino. Ci sono una marea di finali, quindi vi invito assolutamente a provarlo nel caso. The Stanley Parable è molto figo, in realtà è molto divertente. Ci sono probabilmente così tante scelte che è veramente impossibile vedere tutte. Chiaramente questo era un provato, era solo per farvi vedere appunto il gioco e vedere io il gioco che non l'avevo mai visto. È geniale, comunque veramente geniale. Chiaramente non ci sarà un continuo, ma è assurdo. Giovani, direi che ci fermiamo. Questo era Stanley Parable, questa era Gamespatia e io sono Riccardo, un coglione che gioca ai videogiochi. Alla prossima.